Every morning, the stable doors were found wide open, and the horses roamed freely across the vast farmland. Perplexed and frustrated, the farm's owner decided to install cameras to uncover the mystery behind these strange occurrences. What he discovered left him utterly stunned, his jaw dropping in disbelief. As dawn broke over Silver Meadow Ranch, Logan sipped his steaming coffee, his brow furrowed in frustration. Walking toward the corral fence, he muttered, "The stable doors are open again." His voice carried the weight of weeks of unease. Like so many mornings before, a few horses roamed freely through the dusty yard, their hooves leaving chaotic trails in the dirt. They seemed unbothered, lazily grazing or lingering by the water troughs. It wasn't normal. Logan always double-checked the stable doors at night, securing them firmly. Something didn't add up. Logan was no stranger to hard work. A seasoned ranch hand, he'd spent years tending the Harrison family's prized horses, treating them like his own. "It can't just be the wind," he thought, narrowing his eyes at the open gates. The latches were simple but sturdy, not the kind to yield to a stray gust. At first he dismissed the oddities, chalking them up to mischievous teens from town. Many of them visited the ranch to take riding lessons after all. But as the pattern repeated, each morning more horses set loose. Logan couldn't ignore the gnawing unease. That morning, when he spotted Luna, the black mare with an uncanny intelligence, rooting enthusiastically through an overturned bucket of oats, Logan decided enough was enough. He found his employers, Ethan and Grace Harrison, strolling back toward the ranch house after their morning rounds. "Mr. Ethan, Mrs. Grace," he called out, striding toward them with purpose. "We need to talk about the stables. Something strange is happening." Ethan, his silver-streaked hair catching the light, exchanged a concerned glance with Grace, whose lively eyes narrowed in thought. Together, they had built Silver Meadow Ranch into a haven for horses, a lifelong dream realized. "What's wrong, Logan?" Ethan asked, his voice calm but attentive. Logan hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "For weeks now, I've noticed stable doors open at dawn. Not just one, but several. I make sure they're latched every night, but by morning, they're wide open, and the horses are wandering free. At first, I thought it was my mistake, but this has happened too many times to be an accident." Grace crossed her arms, scanning the yard where a few horses still roamed. Her protective nature toward the animals was evident. "Do you think someone's sneaking onto the ranch at night? Maybe a curious visitor or someone from town?" Logan nodded reluctantly. "That was my first thought. But who would do this, and every single night? It's not just a prank. Something else is going on." Ethan's forehead creased with worry. He knew how easily the horses could injure themselves if they ran loose, unmonitored. Years of careful training had made them gentle and obedient, but one reckless night could undo it all. "So, what's your plan?" Ethan asked, sensing Logan had already considered a solution. Logan took a deep breath. "We could set up cameras around the stables. Nothing intrusive, just enough to catch anything unusual. If someone's sneaking in, we'll know. And if it's something else..." He trailed off, unsure how to voice his more outlandish suspicions. Grace raised an eyebrow. "Something else? What exactly are you thinking?" Logan shrugged, clearly uneasy. "I'm not sure. Maybe an animal or..." He hesitated, feeling ridiculous even saying it aloud. "One of the horses themselves, maybe. I know it sounds far-fetched." Ethan let out a soft chuckle, shaking his head. "Don't dismiss it too quickly, Grace. Horses can surprise us sometimes. If it's Luna or one of the others pulling a stunt, I'd love to see it with my own eyes." His attempt to lighten the mood drew a faint smile from Grace, though her concern lingered. Luna had a reputation for cleverness, often outsmarting even the most experienced handlers. Still, the possibility felt remote. By the end of the conversation, the three of them had agreed. Cameras would be installed that very night. Each stable door would be monitored, capturing any movement. The plan was straightforward, and by the following dawn, Logan strode purposefully toward the shed where the camera monitors were housed. For the first time in weeks, he felt a glimmer of hope that the mystery would finally be solved. The first rays of sunlight peeked over the horizon, casting a warm, golden glow across the tranquil prairie. Yet Logan's thoughts were consumed by what he was about to witness. His breath quickened with a mix of curiosity and nerves, his fingers trembling as they worked the device in his hands. "Let's see who's been messing around with my horses," he muttered under his breath. The screen flickered to life, gradually replaying the events from the night before. At first, everything appeared peaceful. The sturdy stables stood silently in the darkness, shadows shifting faintly across the scene. Logan adjusted the volume, the familiar crunch of hooves on hay soothing him briefly. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But then, as the clock on the footage hit 3 a.m., something unusual unfolded. A figure emerged in the dim light near Luna's stall. Logan squinted in disbelief. The figure wasn't a person. It was Luna herself. Her sleek, dark coat shimmered faintly in the sliver of moonlight streaming through a gap in the stable wall. With growing astonishment, Logan watched as Luna stretched her long neck, her muzzle brushing the latch on her stall door. What happened next left him speechless. With an almost practiced elegance, Luna began working the latch with her teeth, each movement deliberate, as if she had rehearsed it countless times. "This can't be real," Logan whispered, his face inches from the screen. Luna nudged the door open with a gentle push, stepping out with an air of quiet triumph. Her movements were calm, almost regal, as she trotted toward another stall. Using the same method, she unlatched the door, freeing the second horse. The freed companion nickered softly, a sound that seemed like gratitude, and followed her lead. In a matter of minutes, Luna had released 3 more horses. Together they made their way to the corral, their steps careful, as though fully aware of the need for silence to avoid waking anyone in the nearby house. Luna led them with an almost uncanny composure, her quiet leadership captivating Logan as he stared at the screen. Wiping a hand across his face, Logan tried to process what he'd just seen. "That mare's smarter than half the people I know," he thought, a bemused smile tugging at his lips. Later that morning, still buzzing with disbelief and excitement, Logan headed over to the Harrison family's house to share the incredible discovery with Ethan and Grace. Finding them in the kitchen, he recounted the events, his voice carrying a mix of awe and humor. "You won't believe this, but Luna's the mastermind. She opened her stall and then let out the others." "Like it was nothing," he said, stifling a laugh. Ethan's eyebrows shot up, and Grace gave him a skeptical yet amused look. "Are you saying she used her teeth?" Ethan asked, scratching his head in wonder. Logan nodded, grinning. "Exactly. She used her teeth like she knew exactly what she was doing. She even seemed to enjoy it." Grace walked over to the window, her gaze falling on Luna, who grazed peacefully in the pasture, blissfully unaware of the conversation about her. "I always knew she was special," Grace murmured, pride and affection lighting up her expression. "But I never imagined anything like this." To Grace, Luna had always been more than just a horse. She was a companion, almost a friend. That night, they decided to turn the cameras back on, eager to see what Luna might do next. True to form, the clever mare didn't disappoint. Near midnight, with the same measured grace as before, Luna left her stall. This time she headed straight for the small storage shed where the feed was kept. With a deft push, she opened the door and began pulling out bags of grain, generously sharing the spoils with her equine friends. Grace stifled a laugh, her eyes fixed on the screen as though she were watching a comedy unfold. "She's not just smart, she's hosting a party," she said, her voice tinged with amusement. Logan and Ethan couldn't hold back their laughter either. As the night wore on, they continued watching in awe, marveling at the intelligence and resourcefulness of the horse they thought they knew. Luna wasn't just remarkable, she was extraordinary, her cunning and calm leadership exceeding anything they'd ever imagined. Luna had earned their admiration, and, silently, all three knew they were witnessing something truly extraordinary. As the days passed, the story of Luna, the clever escape artist mare, took an unexpected turn. Captivated by her remarkable intelligence and sly antics, Grace decided to record some of Luna's nighttime escapades and little tricks on video. Initially, her intention was simply to share the clips with close friends and family who were already familiar with the mischievous mare from their farm, Silver Meadow. One quiet morning, after reviewing an especially amusing recording, Grace had an idea. Maybe others would enjoy seeing Luna's charm, she thought, selecting a clip that showed the mare expertly slipping out of her stable and opening the stall doors of her companions with the precision of a seasoned locksmith. With little expectation, Grace uploaded the video to social media. It didn't take long for the clip to explode in popularity. Within days, hundreds had shared it, and soon the views were climbing into the thousands. Comments flooded in from amazed viewers, with people saying things like, "This horse is smarter than half of us," or "Luna needs her own TV show." Ethan and Grace were stunned by the unexpected attention, but soon realized that Luna's fame was growing faster than they could have imagined. In the following weeks, the story of Luna went viral, drawing reporters to Silver Meadow, eager to capture a glimpse of the farm's rising star. It was surreal for the Bannums to see so many strangers with cameras milling around the pastures. Yet, Luna's fame seemed inevitable. As the number of visitors grew, the once tranquil farm felt the strain of the constant activity. "We need help," Grace said one evening as she and Logan stood by the gate, watching the steady line of cars parking by the entrance. "We can't manage all these people on our own." Logan nodded, just as overwhelmed. "You're right. Besides, it looks like Luna's enjoying all the attention. Look at her." Sure enough, Luna strolled along the fence line, her large dark eyes gleaming with curiosity, as if she were intentionally posing for the cameras. To manage the influx of tourists, the Bannums hired a couple of trustworthy locals to help. Some visitors traveled from faraway towns just to see the door-opening horse. Life on the farm became busier, with routines adjusting to accommodate the flow of people and cameras. Despite the commotion, Luna seemed to relish her role as the star. She not only allowed visitors to watch her, but occasionally performed her tricks, delighting the crowd. When she thought no one was watching, she would sneak toward the feed shed and try to open the door with deliberate movements, drawing cheers and applause from onlookers who marveled as if it were a staged show. Ethan, however, observed it all with mixed emotions. Part pride, part unease. While the farm was benefiting from an unexpected boost in income, he couldn't shake a feeling of concern. "This is her home, not an amusement park," he reflected during quiet moments. For the sake of Luna and the other horses, he knew they needed to strike a balance. One evening, as the crowd began to thin out, Ethan approached Luna, who lay resting in the grass, seemingly tired after a long day of performing. Kneeling beside her, he spoke softly. "Well, look at you, Luna. You've become quite the celebrity, haven't you? But don't worry, You'll always be our mischievous girl here at Silver Meadow." Luna raised her head, meeting his gaze with a calm, understanding look, as if to promise she'd always be the clever mare he had known from the start. Gradually, the Bannums and Logan implemented restrictions, limiting the number of daily visitors. Their priority was to protect the peace of the farm and ensure Luna and the other horses could live freely, away from the constant noise and cameras. Not long after the new rules were in place, a different kind of visitor began to arrive at Silver Meadow. Ones who brought with them unexpected possibilities for the next chapter in Luna's remarkable story. Among the visitors, a small group stood out for their excessive curiosity and, above all, their almost obsessive interest in Luna. At first, Logan and Grace dismissed it as normal. After all, Luna was somewhat of a local celebrity, and it made sense that some people might want to learn more about her. However, as the days passed, their behavior began to raise suspicions. One afternoon, while Logan was leading a small group of visitors through the stables, he noticed 3 men slipping away from the main group and discreetly heading toward the area where Luna and the other horses were usually kept. He observed them carefully, their actions striking him as peculiar. Their questions weren't the casual inquiries of admirers, but were far too technical, as if they weren't there to admire Luna, but to find something more specific. "What time do you usually close the stables?" one of them asked, a middle-aged man with a sparse beard and a piercing gaze. Logan felt a chill run down his spine. Adjusting his hat, he answered cautiously, keeping his eyes on the man. "We close at sunset once it's dark enough. We don't want the horses getting hurt with so much activity going on." The men exchanged quick glances, as if calculating something. Another of them, a younger man with a reserved demeanor, let out a brief, awkward laugh, attempting to mask his discomfort. "And Luna? Is she always here in her stall?" the man asked. Logan's instincts sharpened as unease settled over him. Why are they so curious about her, he wondered, maintaining a neutral expression. An internal alarm was beginning to sound. "Luna is part of the family here at Silver Meadow Ranch," Logan replied evenly, his tone leaving no room for argument. "We make sure she's well cared for and always safe." Sensing the firmness in his response, the men quickly shifted the topic, as if realizing they wouldn't get any more information out of him. But, from that moment on, Logan decided to be even more vigilant. That night, back in his small cabin near the stables, Logan sat by the window, staring out at Silver Meadow Ranch under the moonlight. A deep sense of unease lingered. "Something doesn't feel right," he muttered to himself. Their questions, their demeanor, it all reminded him of the thefts he'd heard about in nearby towns. Luna's fame had drawn all sorts of people to the farm, but he had never imagined facing a situation like this. The following morning, Logan shared his concerns with Grace. As they walked together by the corral, he recounted the strange men and their pointed questions. "Grace, I don't know. I don't want to sound paranoid, but those men didn't feel like regular tourists. They asked too many questions about schedules, about where Luna is kept." He frowned, his worry deepening. "It was like they were planning something," he added, his voice low. Grace, usually the more optimistic of the two, sighed and nodded slowly. "I see what you mean, Logan. You might be right. The truth is, with so many people coming here, you never really know who's here for the horses and who's here for other reasons." For a moment, they walked in silence, the soft sounds of horses in the stables filling the air. After a while, Grace spoke up. "I think we should increase security for Luna and the other horses. I don't want to overreact, But we can't take any risks. Maybe we should reinforce the doors or add an extra lock." Logan nodded, realizing it was a good idea. "Yeah, and we should also check the cameras more often, just in case we notice anything strange at night. Better to be safe." They agreed that for the next several nights, one of them would monitor the security cameras and maintain a more constant presence in the stables. Luna was beloved by many, but it had never occurred to them that she might require such careful protection. The next few days passed quietly, with no sign of the strange men or any other suspicious visitors. Slowly, life at the farm returned to its usual rhythm. Yet, Logan remained watchful. Deep in his heart, the unease lingered, a shadow that refused to disappear. That night, it was Logan's turn to keep watch over the serene pastures of Silver Meadow Ranch. The day had been grueling, filled with endless tasks that left him utterly drained. Determined to stay awake and monitor the security cameras, he settled into a chair, his eyes fixed on the screens. But the relentless pull of fatigue was stronger than his resolve. Slowly, without realizing it, he drifted into sleep, surrendering to the quiet embrace of the night. At dawn, the restless neighing of horses jolted him awake. Blinking rapidly, he struggled to shake off the lingering haze of sleep. It took him a moment to orient himself, but as he glanced at the monitors, his heart sank. The screens showed nothing but emptiness. Jolted by fear, he sprang to his feet and rushed out of the surveillance room. His worst nightmare awaited him in the stables. Several doors hung open and the horses were gone. Among them was Luna, the prized jewel of Silver Meadow Ranch. Horror surged through him as he noticed the broken locks and violently forced latches. There was no doubt. Someone had broken in during the night and stolen the horses. Chaos erupted on the ranch as Logan, Ethan, and Grace scrambled to piece together what had happened. The news spread quickly, and soon every farmhand joined the frantic search, scouring every corner of the property for any clue that might lead them to the missing animals. Hours passed, and a grim realization settled over them. This was no accident. It was a theft. Ethan, his face drawn with worry, turned to Logan. "Did you see anything? Did the cameras catch something?" Logan's voice faltered as guilt weighed heavy on him. "I'll check now, Ethan. We must have recorded something. Though..." His words trailed off, choked by frustration and shame. He couldn't shake the blame he placed on himself for falling asleep at such a critical moment. Grace joined them, her eyes blazing with determination. "We can't waste any more time. Call the police and check the footage. We're not letting Luna or any of the others get away." Together, Logan and Grace returned to the surveillance room, clinging to a fragile thread of hope. Scanning the recordings, their hearts raced when, in the early hours of the morning, the faint glow of headlights appeared on the screen. A black van crept into view, stopping near the stables. Logan paused the video, zooming in on the license plate. It was blurry, but part of the number was discernible. Grace leaned closer, her brow furrowed. "We can trace this plate, or at least warn nearby farms to keep an eye out for this vehicle," she suggested. Without hesitation, Logan and Grace contacted the local police, providing every detail they could. They also reached out to neighboring farms, issuing an alert and asking for any sightings of the stolen horses or the mysterious van. The hours that followed were fraught with tension. The ranch was eerily still, save for Ethan, who busied himself tending to the few remaining horses, and Grace, who stayed by Logan's side, anxiously awaiting updates. By midday, Logan's phone buzzed. It was the manager of a farm, a few miles away. "Logan, we might have seen something. A black van came through just after dawn, towing a trailer. Looked like it was carrying horses." Logan exchanged a look with Grace, urgency igniting in his eyes. He thanked the man, urging him to share all the details with the authorities. Each new lead brought them closer to recovering the stolen animals, and for the first time, hope began to stir among the team. The tip pointed them to a private ranch on the outskirts of town. With police officers in tow, Logan and Grace set out immediately. The atmosphere during the drive was thick with tension, each person lost in their own thoughts, silently repeating the same mantra. This is our only chance to bring Luna and the others back home. The place where they were held was a small, run-down barn tucked behind a dusty house. From a distance, Logan could make out a couple of figures stationed at the barn's entrance, their posture tense and watchful. His heart raced as he imagined Luna and the other horses trapped inside, helpless. When they arrived, the police officers took the lead, carefully ensuring everything was under control before allowing Logan and Grace to approach. Logan clenched his fists, his eyes brimming with a mix of fear and steely resolve. They won't hurt them, he vowed silently. But these men will learn never to mess with Silver Meadow Ranch. After a tense exchange with the guards, the officers managed to unlock the barn door. As it creaked open, Logan and Grace rushed inside. There they were, Luna and the other horses. Though their coats were dusty and their eyes betrayed exhaustion, they appeared unharmed. At the sight of Logan, Luna lifted her head and let out a soft, familiar whinny, as though she recognized her caretaker instantly. Logan exhaled in relief, stepping closer to gently stroke her neck. "You're safe now, Luna. We're going home, girl," he murmured, his voice tender yet steady. Luna leaned into him, nuzzling his shoulder in quiet trust. As the horses were released one by one, Grace couldn't stop the tear that slipped down her cheek. Relief washed over her like a wave, mingling with the lingering fear of how easily they could have lost everything. But the thought of returning to Silver Meadow Ranch with their precious horses restored a fragile sense of peace. One of the ranch's workers tried to explain himself to the police, insisting he hadn't known the horses were stolen. "They were offered to me at a fair price," he claimed, and I didn't ask questions. Logan watched in disbelief, his grip on Luna's reins tightening, but he chose to let the officers handle the legalities. For him and Grace, the priority was getting the horses home. After what felt like hours of paperwork, they were finally free to leave. The sun was beginning to dip below the horizon, painting the sky with streaks of orange and violet. Logan walked alongside Luna, his steps heavy with a mix of exhaustion and quiet joy. The horse seemed calm, as if she understood they were heading back to the place where she truly belonged. As they arrived at Silver Meadow Ranch, they were greeted by a small crowd of farmhands and neighbors. News of the stolen horses had spread, and people had gathered to witness their safe return. One by one, the horses were led to their familiar stalls, met with cheers and murmurs of relief. "Thank goodness they're back," one of the workers exclaimed, clapping enthusiastically as Logan and Grace guided Luna into her stall. "It's a miracle they found them so quickly," a neighbor whispered to Ethan, whose eyes glistened with gratitude as he watched the scene unfold. Logan lingered by Luna's side, watching as she explored her stall. Her movements were deliberate, almost as if she were reacquainting herself with the comforting scents and corners of her home. She seemed at peace, as though she knew that Silver Meadow Ranch was more than just a farm. It was her sanctuary. After a long moment, Ethan addressed the crowd with heartfelt gratitude. "Thank you, all of you, for your support. Because of your help, Silver Meadow Ranch remains the safe haven we've always envisioned for our animals." That night, With the farm finally quiet and the horses secured, Logan and Grace reflected on what had happened. They both knew that steps needed to be taken to prevent such a thing from ever happening again. Silver Meadow Ranch had always been an open and welcoming place, but this experience had shown them that not everyone shared their respect and love for animals. The next morning, with the event still fresh in their minds, Ethan and Grace called a meeting with Logan and the rest of the farm's staff. The safety of the horses, especially Luna, had become a top priority. As Ethan laid out his plan, Logan stood with his hands in his pockets, listening intently. The room was quiet, but the determination in the air was palpable. Ethan explained that moving forward, they would limit daily visitors and implement stricter security measures. Though Silver Meadow Ranch had always been a place of openness and trust, the recent events served as a sobering reminder that even the most peaceful havens must be protected from those who fail to value their sanctity. Let's take care of this place and our animals with all our hearts, but also with clear and rational minds, Ethan declared with a steady voice. The family had resolved to install new reinforced locks on the stables, a much-needed upgrade. Grace, always anxious about Luna's safety, couldn't help but feel the changes were essential. Luna had become something of a local celebrity, attracting not only admiration, but also unwanted attention. That afternoon, as workers busily installed the new locks, Grace and Logan strolled toward Luna's stable. The mare watched them curiously, her dark eyes following the tools and movements of the men fitting the new security systems. It was almost as if Luna sensed a shift in the atmosphere, a change in the usual calmness of Silver Meadow Ranch. "You might not like this at first, my friend," Grace murmured, gently stroking Luna's silky mane. "But it's for your own good. I can't bear the thought of you going through something like that again." The mare snorted softly, as though she understood her caretaker's words. Standing nearby, Logan couldn't help but smile at the unique bond Grace shared with Luna. To them, she was far more than just a horse. She was a companion, a symbol of resilience, and in many ways, the heart of the ranch. In the days that followed, Luna and the other horses slowly adapted to the new security measures. Initially, Luna tried to manipulate the latches as she always had, but soon she realized her old tricks wouldn't work. Grace and Logan occasionally caught her testing the locks with her muzzle, her movements deliberate yet resigned. It was as if she knew these barriers were there to shield her from harm. The story of Silver Meadow Ranch and Luna's daring escape continued to captivate the local community. Before long, the ranch began receiving invitations to share their experiences at local events and educational talks. Ethan and Grace saw these opportunities not as a chance to gain fame, but to raise awareness about animal welfare. They wanted their story to inspire others, showing what it truly meant to care for animals with love and responsibility. Small gatherings were held at the ranch, where families, children, and animal enthusiasts were invited to meet Luna and hear her remarkable tale. During these visits, Grace and Logan would lead tours, explaining how the ranch had evolved and how Luna had taught them a profound lesson about safety and respect for animals. Luna, ever the star, became the centerpiece of these events. Children stared at her in awe, and adults listened intently to the story of the escape artist Mare, imagining the adventure she had endured. With her gentle yet curious demeanor, Luna seemed to relish the attention. She would often approach visitors, nudging them playfully, or accepting treats like apple slices. "It's amazing how much she seems to understand," one guest remarked, watching as Luna interacted with the children. "She knows she's special," Grace responded with a smile. "She's more than special," she added after a pause. "She taught us to be more careful, more responsible. Sometimes I feel like she takes care of us more than we take care of her." The events continued to draw visitors, and before long Silver Meadow Ranch became a cherished landmark in the community. It was no longer just a horse ranch. It stood as a beacon of protection, education, and commitment to animal care. Inspired by the impact Luna and the ranch had made, Ethan reached out to local authorities. He sought to collaborate on initiatives that would raise awareness about farm safety and animal protection. Together, they launched campaigns and developed security guidelines, helping other farms prevent similar incidents. Over time, the ranch settled back into its familiar tranquility. Each day began and ended with the gentle breeze sweeping through the fields and the rhythmic sound of hooves on the soft earth. Luna and her fellow horses filled the ranch with life and a renewed sense of peace, one that felt deeper, more profound, after everything they had endured. Luna, the clever mare who had once caused such a stir, had gradually adjusted to the new security measures. At first, she eyed the reinforced locks with a hint of unease, but over time she embraced the changes with a quiet grace, almost as if she understood that Silver Meadow Ranch was not just a safe haven for her, but for all her companions in the stable. Despite her playful and mischievous nature, she remained under the watchful care of Logan and Grace, who now regarded her as more than just another horse on the farm. She was a living symbol of everything Silver Meadow Ranch stood for. One Sunday morning, as the first golden rays of sunlight spilled over the rolling hills and kissed the dew-covered grass, Logan strolled leisurely through the stable. Every corner of the place felt as familiar as an old friend. His gaze softened with affection as he took in each horse, one by one. When he reached Luna, the mare greeted him with a gentle nudge on the shoulder, a gesture of affection Logan met with a warm smile. "Good morning, girl," he said, running his hand along her neck. "Ready for a new day?" Luna responded with a soft snort and a shake of her head, as if acknowledging his greeting. Logan chuckled under his breath, and for a moment he felt as though everything at Silver Meadow Ranch was exactly as it should be. It had been a long journey, one filled with challenges and lessons, but the farm had emerged stronger and more united than ever. As days passed, Grace and Ethan also began to notice the transformation Silver Meadow Ranch had undergone. It was no longer just a place where horses were cared for. It had become a symbol of protection and respect for animals. Though visitors were fewer now, those who came arrived with awe and gratitude, inspired by Luna's story and the Harrison family's dedication to preserving the peace of the farm. One afternoon, as the horizon blushed with the hues of sunset, Ethan shared his thoughts with Grace while they sat on the porch of their home. "You know," he began, his voice tinged with wonder, "I never imagined Silver Meadow Ranch would become something so special. At first, we just wanted a place to care for horses and enjoy the countryside. But now, it feels like we're doing something much bigger." Grace turned to him with a soft smile. "You're right, Ethan. And I think Luna taught us all how important it is to protect what we love. She and the other horses have given us so much, not just companionship, but a sense of purpose." They fell into a comfortable silence, their eyes drifting to the field where Luna and her stablemates grazed. Against the backdrop of the setting sun, the silhouettes of the horses seemed to embody everything Silver Meadow Ranch represented. A place where animals were cherished, respected, and protected. Over time, the story of Luna and Silver Meadow Ranch became a local legend. People spoke of the mare who had once escaped her stable, of how she had inspired an entire community, and of the peace that blanketed that little corner of the countryside. Children who visited the farm listened with wide-eyed fascination as Grace recounted tales of Luna, Many left dreaming of someday having their own place like Silver Meadow Ranch, where they could care for animals and nurture life. The rhythms of the farm continued, with its calm days and quiet nights. But something had shifted in everyone's hearts. Logan, who had always felt a deep bond with horses, now approached their care with even greater devotion. Each day he spent time with Luna, stroking her mane and speaking to her softly, as if they shared an unspoken understanding. One evening, as stars began to twinkle in the vast sky, Logan sat near the stable, gazing toward the mountains. Luna, peeking out from her stall, watched him in silence. Sensing her presence, Logan smiled. "Thank you, Luna," he murmured. "Thank you for reminding us what it truly means to care and to love." The mare met his gaze with her deep, dark eyes, and once again, Logan felt that their connection transcended words. Silver Meadow Ranch was more than just a farm. It was a sanctuary where humans and animals shared a unique bond, and Luna was the heart of it all. And so, Silver Meadow Ranch remained a haven of peace and protection, a refuge for those seeking solace, and for those who believed in a profound respect for all living things. Luna, the mare who had reshaped the destiny of the farm, continued grazing peacefully in the meadows. She roamed freely and securely, confident that she would always have a place where she could truly be herself, surrounded by people who cherished her. With each passing day, Silver Meadow reaffirmed its mission to stand as a beacon of hope and kindness in a world that often seemed to forget the value of such virtues. The story of Silver Meadow and its remarkable protagonist, Luna, is a heartfelt journey filled with profound lessons and deeply emotional moments, capturing the unique connection between humans and animals. Through Luna's adventures, an intelligent, spirited, and playful mare, we are drawn into a world where animals possess not just personalities, but dreams and a level of intelligence often underestimated. Luna's playful antics, from her clever knack for unlocking gates to her endearing mischief, quickly earn the admiration and love of her caretakers. Yet she becomes far more than just a beloved companion. She evolves into the heart of the farm. Her journey, marked by a peaceful existence in the barn, a harrowing theft, and her eventual rescue, serves as a poignant reminder of both the fragility of life and the importance of safeguarding the animals who rely on us. The caretakers of Silver Meadow, particularly Logan and Grace, undergo their own transformation. Once simple caretakers, they become devoted advocates, determined to do whatever it takes to ensure their horses' well-being. This narrative shines a light on the extraordinary ways animals can influence our lives, providing not only companionship, but also teaching us invaluable lessons about respect, empathy, and responsibility. Luna becomes a source of inspiration, reminding everyone at Silver Meadow to treasure and protect all living creatures. In the end, Silver Meadow is more than just a farm. It's a sanctuary of peace and love, a reminder that in caring for and protecting animals, we discover the best parts of ourselves. Luna's story invites us to reflect on our connection with the animal world and to appreciate a bond that, though silent, holds the power to transform us deeply. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and share it. Leave a comment to tell us how it inspired you, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. May God bless you and guide you on every step of your journey.